Alright, so hey everyone, how's it going? This is Rexford here, and welcome back to yet another game maker tutorial, and today what we're going to be going over is some explosions! Yay, family and friendly explosions. So, what you guys are seeing right now is the preview window of the end result of this tutorial, and you'll notice if we left click anywhere on the screen, we get these awesome little bombs here, and they drop, they have their little explosion animation, and one thing to note, as well as when they explode, you get different explosion sizes. So you see right here, we got this big square kind of explosion, and over here we have these kind of more littler explosions going on in the terrain, and if we click within the terrain itself, we get these various shapes of explosions, various sizes, and stuff like that, because there is more crowding of the terrain around, and the more terrain that there kind of is around in various, what do I want to say, various patterns, I suppose, the bigger the explosion and the more different the results. So anyway, let's go ahead and head over to GameMaker to see how all this works. This is a very simple system as well, too. I created it myself. And if you guys want to go ahead and download the example, the link to that is in the description below. I'm going to put it on my website there. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and go through this, starting with the sprites. Alright, so the sprite here, this is actually a default sprite that comes within GameMaker itself. And I'm currently, I'm in GameMaker 8, and I'm not exactly sure if it's included in GameMaker 7. It's been quite a while since I've kind of touched that program, or at least the version of the program. But basically all I did was I went to load sprite, and you have this little area here in the maze platform section, and you have these various sprites, and let's see if I can find it here. It's called Explosion Small, I believe. Oh, come on. Come on. Alright, well, if I can't find it sooner or later here, well, we found Dynamite. That's kind of on the right track. Oh, there we go. Explosion Strip 7. And you just go ahead and hit open, and it'll automatically create all these various sub-images for you to create that full explosion effect. So, that's all I really did there. And the next thing I did was, in Modify Mask, by default, you do have it on automatic here, and I really want to clear this out of the way. You can set this bigger. This is basically just setting the range that this sprite will go to. So if you were to set this to something like, if you put rectangle and you put full image, all of this here around would be affected when this explosion goes off. So that's just one little cool thing I wanted to go ahead and note there. And as for the sprite in the ground, these are just simple sprites, 16 by 16, nothing too fancy going on here. Of course, you can have whatever size you want, it doesn't really matter. Okay, and basically how the system is working is, I'm sure you guys are somewhat aware already, but when the bomb hits, basically that explosion animation goes off, and whatever is around it at the time will get deleted. So that's basically how that is working, just in case you guys are a little bit curious about what would happen if you were to heighten the size of the ground. It would just kind of get rid of less ground, I guess, depending on your explosion size. But anyway, we're getting a little bit too technical for our own good. Let's go ahead and head into our obj_explosion object first and see what all is going inside here. So basically what we have in here is our explosion sprite, and that's being set in this object here. And in the create event, went to the control tab and clicked and dragged over some execute code actions. And what we have going on here is some very simple code. Speed equals 0, and we'll get to why that is in just a minute here. And the image underscore speed equals 0.5. Now this is the speed of how fast our explosion is going. Now you might think that this isn't necessarily super important, however it kind of is in the respect that if we go ahead and close this out and we go to our animation end event, which is basically once this animation for this explosion finishes, whatever inside this code box will take effect. So basically, as you can see, we have an instance underscore destroy piece of code. So the more that you, I guess, heighten or lower this number, the faster or less faster it will take for this explosion to actually get through its whole cycle and get deleted. Alright, and finally onto the collision with the ground event here, we just have with other instance destroyed. So this is just saying that with any other object that is around this explosion at the time that it goes off, those objects will get destroyed. And of course, if you want to go ahead and specify this even further, you could just go ahead and, well, I guess, never mind, let's not really around that. This pretty much sums it up, I guess. Good enough. There's no really reason to kind of go on that a little bit more. But let's go ahead and now head on to the obj_bomb object. Now this object is a little more simpler. All we have is an add event and a step event. And in this step event, we have a code block again, and we just have some very simple gravity, and this is just for testing purposes. This gravity is usually somewhat of a bad system to use in actual game, but it works fine for just this tutorial, and if you just want to use a simple bomb effect here with gravity, so just set the gravity to 0.5 there. Of course, you can higher or lower it if you wish. Alright, now the collision with the ground. So pretty much what we got going on here in this code block is gravity equals 0. Now, why is that? Basically, what's going on if we were to basically take this, oops, well, I guess I just did it. If we were to just leave it like, like this, without the gravity equals 0, what would happen is our bomb's gravity would still be taking effect, and it would just go straight through the ground and leave a, oops, excuse me, just a wide range, or not range, but just a line of destroyed blocks, and that's definitely not what we want. We want it to fall on the block and stop. So we're just going to go ahead and paste that back, and of course, once it collides with the ground, it just changes into the explosion, and the explosion's actions are true. And we already went to the explosion, so we know what's going on in there. Alright, now finally the obj_ground. The only thing you really want to do here is check it solid so that the bomb doesn't just kind of fall and then start to go, kind of sap through it there. We want it to just fall solidly on the ground and then explode, to put it simply. Alright, so in our obj_controller object, what we basically have going on here is a global left pressed. And for those of you who aren't familiar with this, basically just means wherever you click, something's going to happen, instead of just like clicking on the object itself with a regular left click or event. And we have another code block in here, and basically all we have is an instance create mouse_x, mouse_y, obj_bomb, little code piece there. And what this snippet is basically saying is that when we left click, anywhere we left click, it's going to create a bomb object, and obviously we just went over that object, and it's going to create it wherever you clicked at that time. So that's what that mouse_y and x is taken care of. And once you're done with that, all you want to go ahead and do is you can just go ahead and place your ground anywhere you like. You can make little towers or whatever. You can do it pretty much whatever you want. And obviously, one thing you do want to have is your obj_controller put anywhere in the room. Just kind of be weary of that there. But yeah, I guess with that said, that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and just run this thing one more time and see how it goes. And oh, I just realized I'm getting a little bit of a cutoff here in the thing here in the recording. I apologize for that. That might be looking a little bit weird, but anyway, just disregard it for now. And let's have some bomb explosion action, I guess. So yeah, there we go, guys. That is some simple explosions to use in GameMaker. And again, as I said earlier in this tutorial, you can actually use this with the platform shooting tutorial I did a little while ago. And you just make sure, instead of the bombs, I guess, being the explosion device, you can put it on the bullets. And then, you know, the bullets change to the explosion, and so on and so forth. So, with that said, guys, that's the end of this tutorial. Feel free to comment, subscribe, whatever. And as I said earlier, the link down below in the description for the example that I made will be down there. So if you want to go and down that, you can. And I guess with that said, until next time, this has been Rex Furry, and I'll see you guys then.